Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. That includes any type of entity in Texas. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
That's my people being mad at Abbott for doing that. They're upset. They're pissed. They're angry. How so? Well, listen to this. This is what Biden says about this.
I think it's a big mistake. The last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
First of all, can we just be honest? Because you don't like what somebody's doing, somebody's going to be the first. Nobody ever wants to be the first, right? Nobody ever wants to be that first person. All right, I'm going to do something. I'm going to try something. I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to make this change. Nobody does. This whole thought process about, I don't know where we're going. Do you think we're going to get to zero? It's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. It isn't. Bunch of businesses in Texas say, you know what, we're still going to have the mask mandate. We're going to do everything. Oh, great, personal responsibility. So wait a minute. You're telling me Texas, the governor, is giving them, being the people, some personal responsibility, saying, look, we're not going to limit anything. We're going to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. If you want to wear a mask, it's not like, well, he told me I can't wear a mask. You know, no, he didn't say that. He said we're going to lift it. So you don't have to worry about that if you don't want to wear a mask. But you may go into Target and they say, you know what, you got to wear a mask. So you know what you have to do? You have to wear a mask. Well, I'm not going to shop here. Then don't shop there. You go to Walmart. You have to wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask. Well, you can't come in. You're running out of places. Some places will be fine with it. Others won't. Personal responsibility is huge. We have, over the last God knows how many decades, we have slowly but surely started to cease personal responsibility for ourselves and give it over to the government. We'll find out how they do. And what I'm always amazed about with people who say, oh, this shouldn't happen or that should, you wish bad things happen. It's like you almost hope for it. Why? Well, when you get this and die, then you'll be sorry. Okay. But what if I get it and don't die? Because apparently you get a trophy if I die for being super morally upstanding and braggadocious over mask wearing, and I don't get anything? No. It's just about personal responsibility. Neanderthal thinking. How is it? Remember, these bizarre situations that we've been put in over the last year where we went from flattening the curve to let's stop the spread, to quarantine for this, the changing of all kinds of arbitrary rules that they've thrown out there. CDC has changed its mind so many times. The World Health Organization is useless. And every state gets to do what every state gets to do, which is it gets to run itself. So what are you going to say about Texas? Well, I think they're stupid. I think they're a bunch of Neanderthals, and they're idiots. And you hope they fail. So you hope that this thing fails because you want to stay in quarantine longer. You want to live your life in a 65% kind of way. Maybe 75% in some states and 50% in others. You enjoy this? This is something you're like, I'm thrilled by this. No, you're not. We got to stop wishing bad things on other people because you don't believe it. And it's so bizarre. It's like, Trump with hydrochloroquine. Watching people hope it failed was amazing. Because God forbid he got it right. Then what? That's the stuff that's ridiculous. Somebody's got to be the first. I don't know if it's going to work. It could go south fast, right? It could fall apart in a hot second. Or it could kind of do what it's doing now And there's, stops and starts and spikes here and there, but slowly but surely, as the herd immunity grows through vaccinations and people, especially asymptomatics that have been effective, and people, they're going to get through it. I don't know what else there is to say. You can be angry.
I don't know why they're doing it, but it certainly, from a public health standpoint, is ill-advised. The last 7 days, it's plateaued. We've been to this scene before, months and months ago, when we try to open up the country and open up the economy. When certain states did not abide by the guidelines, we had rebounds, which were very troublesome. What we don't need right now is another surge. So just pulling back on all of the public health guidelines that we know work, it just is inexplicable why you would want to pull back now.
Because they want to live their life. They value liberty and freedom and choice over arbitrary rules and the continual changing of things. Today it's this, tomorrow it's that. We got to do this. Look, people are going to be frustrated. But you know what? Here's what you always hear in the news. Everybody's angry and upset. Not really. See, a lot of people in Texas like, good. Let's get back to living. And let's also remember, so much of that spike that took place had to do with gatherings indoors during the holidays. Not people randomly living their life here and there. I don't think much is going to change in Texas other than you'll be able to do a few more things. But it still goes back to personal responsibility.
So I don't think Washington has a lot to say to states like my state about what the appropriate reopening measures are. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to wear a mask, you can still wear a mask. But at some point, the government needs to quit making arbitrary rules that do not have any demonstrable connection with the public health.
Yeah. I got zero problems with it. First, I don't live in Texas. Secondly, this is coming from a guy who did all the right things. Overly cautious for somebody who isn't overly cautious, because I respect the people around me, and some of which have underlying conditions and health issues. And I respect them and wouldn't want anything to happen to them. So abundance of caution, as they would say. And yet I still caught it. Haven't seen my family in over a year. I have a new little niece, never seen her before. I see my son, if I'm lucky. We've been fortunate, the last 6 months, because we decided, all right, but for 3-4 months, I wasn't able to see him. I couldn't see him. I did everything. I still caught the damn thing. I still did. It's frustrating. I get it. But at some point in time, somebody's got to be the first. Texas, not surprisingly, decided we're it. Now, we don't count Florida because Florida never shut down. Florida just said, hey, we're Florida.
First of all, they're not arbitrary. They're based on evidence and data from science. We know that these interventions work. It's very clear. When you implement them, you see the cases go down. When you pull back, the cases go up. What you want to do is get down to a low enough baseline so that when you do pull back on the public health measures, that you won't have a surge, because when you have a level of virus that's low enough, as you get these little blips, you can contain them.
Some of that's right. But you also have other scientists out there that saying, we've done everything we can. We're going to get vaccines out there. But there's been enough people that have been exposed to this in some way, shape, or form, that have built in some sort of immunity, that we're not counting towards everything. And then if you're worried about the variants and that this might happen, well, guess what? At some point, if you're worried about the variants, we're going to stay inside forever? Is that what we're going to do? Zero is not an option. Let's go back to what the crazy Brit Boris Johnson said about opening up the UK.
There is therefore no credible route to a zero COVID Britain, or indeed a zero COVID world. Cannot persist indefinitely with restrictions that debilitate our economy, our physical and mental well-being, and the life chances of our children. And that is why it is so crucial that this roadmap should be cautious, but also irreversible.
100%. Cautious but irreversible, meaning once we take the step, we're going to do it. There is no going back. There's no turning around. We're taking a step. And once that step happens, the door opens, out we go. We go. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. It is March 4th, so I think President Trump is going to be the president later on today, from what I understand, but I don't think that's true because he's former president, and he's not going to be president. But the conspiracy theory that is out there is today he is going to be installed as the 19th president of the United States.
The threat is linked to a far-right conspiracy theory pushed by QAnon, falsely claiming Trump will return to Washington today. The claims are false. The security measures are real. Barbed wire and fencing surrounding the Capitol. National Guard members with heavy military vehicles on duty. Roads closed.
Yeah. So there is no House meeting today. Senate will be in session. But they're thinking to themselves, let's just keep this thing as quiet as we possibly can and go from there. And we're going to touch on the conspiracy that is this. And it's interesting. It is. I mean, the whole thing, you sit there. I don't even know how you go. I don't know how you get there. I'm curious as to how you get there. And I'm not talking about the people that get sucked in by it. I'm talking about the people that essentially make it up. Who's writing this? That's what I'm talking about. Because I understand how the people who buy into this stuff can get there. There's a few things, but a lot of them are kind of the same thing that they do with the cult and everything else. It's very personal issues, loneliness, feeling of helplessness, and feeling of having zero power, and you get sucked into something, feeling like you know something that other people don't know, like you're in the know. Those things I get. But it's the people that do it and write it and create it. How do you get there? What do you see when you look at something where you could take and go, if I spin this the right way? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Home title lock. Home title lock. Guess what, guys? Title fraud's real. Somebody steals a title, a D, right there. What are they doing? Cybercrime and its financial gains. Easier than stealing a car, more profitable. Legal titles to the homes. Guess what? They're kept online. Online scammers forge signatures. Not hard. And what do they say? Oh, you sold them the home. Fake notary, stamp. Next thing you know, they refile as the new owner, and then they start taking out loans. That's what Home Title Lock's about. Thieves can borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. You wouldn't even know about it till it's too late. With Home Title Lock, they alert you to anything that happens to your title. Whether somebody's going in there and making a small change right from the title company. Oh, we forgot to put a period here or a comma. You're going to be notified by it. So protect your home now with Home Title Lock. Should somebody get by Home Title Lock, guess what? They're going to help you with the legal fight to make sure that you're protected. HomeTitleLock.com. Go there now. Register to see if you've already been a victim. Register your address, simple and easy. Use code radio for 30 days free protection. HomeTitleLock.com. Code radio. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
I fully support a woman's right to come forward. And I think it should be encouraged in every way.
Full of it.
I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it.
He's awful. He was insufferable anyways, but yeah, he's awful. He's totally awful. So you got three of them. Old Cuomo there. Governor Cuomo. Probably won't be governor very long. I think he realized that he's facing some. Another one that comes out, and that's just, that would be, I think, it. Now, you got to have proof. You know, the picture of him, you know, like grabbing somebody's cheeks. It's a picture from like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm sorry. You know, I can't That's the he said, she said. Again, there's got to be proof. Is there other things that are out there? You know, somebody asked me to describe Cuomo yesterday. I said, him and his brother, they're wannabe gangsters with no balls. They always wanted to be in the mafia and made men. They never had they just never had the cojones for it. And that yesterday, he wouldn't have done that had people not come after him. And now he think he fully understands the situation that he finds himself in.
I feel awful about it, and frankly, I am embarrassed by it. And that's not easy to say, but that's the truth. But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
All right, you guys get that? He never, let's go over this again, because we've never heard anybody ever say those things.
But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I never touched anyone inappropriately.
I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
I never touched anyone inappropriately.
Chad. I don't know about Andrew Cuomo. I mean, again, he said, she said in a lot of these, and if you believe that all women are to be believed and that all men are guilty, then that's the way you feel. If you're interested in actual evidence and saying, all right, where's the evidence, and let's have an actual discussion and find out what happened, then if you would say the jury's still out, and if you think that all women are lying and that all men are innocent, then you've made up your mind. I'm in the middle there. Show me what's gone on. And he said, she said kind of situation. That's where you've got to tell your story, and she tells her story, and then you got to ask, was it taken a certain way, or was it meant a certain way? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. March 4th, big day. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The House has decided to change its floor schedule to get lawmakers out of Washington, D.C. before tomorrow, and still an increased level of security presence here on the Capitol grounds here tonight. You have miles long of razor-wired fencing and still roughly 5,000 National Guard troops on site.
Yep, March 4th, big day. So this used to be Inauguration Day, right? So this used to be it way back in the day. It was Inauguration Day before it was moved. It was moved in 1933 to January. So today's a big day. Trump is going to be the president, is what we're hearing. Except for the part where it's not going to happen. But there's a question, like, how do you get to this point? How do you? I mean, we've got our leaders not doing things today, and I use the word leaders loosely, because they just happen to be the ones doing that job. We've got the job keepers, if you will, of that job doing nothing really today, which isn't too dissimilar than probably other days. But there is a reason for that. That's a real reason.
Well, so March 4th, Donald Trump is going to come back and he's going to be the president. Way back when, it was like 1871. Inauguration Day used to happen on March 4th. And then Donald Trump will be back and he'll be inaugurated as either the 19th president of the United States Republic or the first president of some new something.
They also think that there's going to be this great financial reset, both in our country and around the world, where debts are just going to be forgiven, where if you have a mortgage, you don't owe on it anymore.
So that's happening. It's crazy. But it's crazy enough to have our government on high alert. Now, Q apparently hasn't done a lot in the last, I think since February at some point in time. And they're already starting to figure out, okay, this isn't happening. They're trying to figure out, this isn't happening. This is very much like those preachers who come out and say, the Lord shall smite thee and the earth will disappear on this day. And they take out billboards and they talk about it and they have this big run up to it. And then it doesn't. It's like, I got the math wrong. Oh, God. But here it is. And it's so bizarre. I mean, think about some of the stuff that this group thinks about.
Is it true that one of your sisters does not today believe that Joe Biden is president?
Yes. She tells her daughter that she thinks that the White House is a set and that Biden isn't actually president.
You know, Joe Biden's not even real. Like, that's why he's wearing a mask all the time, because the fake face that he's wearing, the mouth doesn't move correctly when he talks. So they really believe that Joe Biden is not even Joe Biden.
Who is it? It's going to be an actor, right? Do you think that's a SAG part? Do you? For those who get Screen Actors Guild? Are you getting scale for playing that part? Because somebody's got to be doing it. Is it one of those things where there's somebody in a green room and they've got the black, jumpsuit thing on that's all, the onesie, and then they've got the ping pong balls all over so they can, on the green screen? Is that what it is? I mean, somebody's got to be getting paid. If it's just a robot, robots don't work for free. Somebody did that.
My concern is that a lot of the threads that weave a lot of these conspiracies together in the Q world are very thinly veiled white supremacy, very thinly veiled anti-Semitism.
When I was in these groups, I was like, no, we're not racist. Like, I'm not sneaking out on Wednesday nights to KKK meetings. Being out of it, I have taken it upon myself to have conversations, and I've bought books and I'm reading and I am learning. But as far as domestic terrorism, I think QAnon is a domestic terrorist group.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. The whole thing is, I do not believe that Trump is going to be installed as the 19th president of the United States. And he's the 19th because Ulysses S. Grant was the last after the gold standards, all kinds of all of these conspiracies have something. And all you need to do is find a passage somewhere and then you could twist it and get it to do something. We see it all the time in religion. I mean, in all kinds of, think about this in religion. There are people that take the Quran and they twist it and they get people to do their bidding from them to the point where they do what? They blow themselves up. Yeah. So, craziness, yes, but real, no. So I don't think that's going to happen. But just in case it does, make sure you follow along here and throughout social media because we will cover the inauguration live as it happens. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. By the way, to get Trump to Washington, you'll have to get him. You'll have to get him off the golf course. I think today, honestly, I think he enjoys the bitching about stuff. I think if you ask him today, dude, do you want to be president again? He'd be like, no. That was awful. I don't need more of that. I'm enjoying myself. I just want all this crap to go away. I want to spend the rest of my life hitting golf balls and hanging out with my kids and my grandkids. I want to be relevant enough that people come to me, but I also want to be far enough away that I don't have to be the focus of all bad things or everybody's savior and hero. It's a tough job anyways, even if you do it, even if you do it extremely well, like the greatest you could do it, it's still a tough job. And human beings are fickle. I always go back to Winston Churchill, and I'm not comparing the two, but I am comparing the fact that Churchill had like a 90% approval rating after World War II, and he lost the general election. It's a tough job being a leader of a country. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All that being said, we're still dealing with what? The coronavirus. Now that we've got, yes, Texas opening up, people are looking around going, what's next? What's going to happen? Some people are upset. Abbott's opening up Texas. Here we go. People are freaking out. There's vaccines are coming. The Johnson & Johnson, I continue to tell everybody, that was always going to be the game changer. One shot, easy storage, can be everywhere. Convenience, convenience, convenience. 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 We like convenience. But somebody had to be the tester fish. That's the analogy I like to use. Go out, you spend a lot of money on a saltwater tank. Got to get everything right. The salt, the pH balance, the saline, all this stuff. We put it here. We got everything. We got already. Okay, now I'm not going to put my $400 fish in there, but I am going to go get a $2.99 fish. And if it survives, I'll throw something else in there that can eat it that costs more money. Texas has said, we'll do it. We'll take that step. And some people are pissed and angry. I understand that. This is an ICU nurse named Brittany Smart in Texas.
When this first started, I went to New York, and I remember saying I thought I was in a third world country. Like, I'd never seen anything like it. And then I said, this is only New York. And then I got back to Texas 4 months later, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening here too. It was absolutely devastating. I feel like we finally hit a point where we all started breathing a little bit easier. We kind of saw a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're all pretty exhausted, and I'm scared of what this is going to look like.
Yeah. Well, what is it going to look like? We don't know. Here's the thing. Nobody knows what it's going to look like. California went down on ultra, super, double, secret probation lockdown, and it's a hot mess. New York did the same thing. Hot mess. Florida, Texas, but Florida in particular, they're behind them, but you got to look at the size of the state as well. But they didn't. Everybody's kind of ended up in the same place. It almost was like, it's going to be your time. It's not going to be. No, it's going to be your time. At some point in time, it's coming, and there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it. So I don't know what it looks like. Just because you have the opportunity to go places and do all kinds of things, you still have personal responsibility. And I think that should not be discounted.
Yeah, we're still not allowing visitors. We're still masking up. We're still taking all the precautions because we still have COVID patients. It's not like the COVID patients are gone. It's not like they're not dying. Our morgues have finally let up just a little bit so we can, actually take care of these patients. We don't have people in the hallways anymore on stretchers. We're not putting dead bodies in empty rooms at this point. It's finally easing up a tad bit. It's a little nerve-wracking to see that, we're going to take away the mask. I don't think it's safe to do that right now.
But taking away the mask doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it. I still think there's going to be a majority of people, at least for a while, who understand, look, I'm glad we have the opportunities and the freedoms. Let me have my personal responsibility, and I will go about doing the things that I need to do to protect myself. Are there going to be idiots out there? Yeah, but guess what? There were idiots out there long before Governor Abbott said, we're going to do this. Idiots are always out there. You know that, and I know that. But somebody has to take that step forward. Is it too early? Time is going to tell.
If Texas were a person, it's the person who leaves the lost group of hikers to go and seek help. It's the person who assumes the risk first on behalf of others. The state actually stepped up. You need Texas in a world of leaders who have no problem shutting down things indefinitely. And the media is that person in every disaster movie that needs to be slapped by the hero. Stop panicking! Like Gene Hackman in the Poseidon Adventure is Texas, and the media or the people going, I don't know what to do, and you have to go, Batman.
Shelley Winters. So he slapped. He's right, and that's what we've been saying. Somebody had to do it, and they've gone about doing it. Could it be a disaster? Yeah. But if not them, then who and when? Because there still isn't anything, and the media has played a huge part in this. There's too much fear, and people talk about the science. Well, we don't really get to talk about the science in the way that it should be talked about. Instead of talking about the science, it's the fear of this has been put out there a lot more than the science of this, the storytelling of this, which is a majority of people that get this. And by majority, even people who are older are going to survive this. But you would think that getting it is almost certain death and doom. Texas is taking a stand, as Texas does, and it's stepping out. As an individual, though, you still have personal responsibility, and that should, again, not be discounted. We should be talking about that and talking about the personal responsibility that people have now that they have the opportunities to get back to living their life. Businesses will still be businesses, operating the way that they feel keeps their people safe. And individuals will just now have the opportunity to make a choice that they feel is right for them. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. We're going to talk about mullets. It's back. The mullet is back, but it's a place in Australia is like, no. The mullet is back. The mullet. The mullet. There's a great fragrance of like cigarettes, a little bit of a Jacquard Noir sound or smell, and like, I don't know, with a little bit of Stetson in there and maybe some cheap leather. The Moulet. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Raycon's best earbuds around. Love my earbuds. Was relaxing last night, kicking back, and just was doing some work, and it's just, you get kind of lost because the earbuds that these Raycons are, that when they go in your ears, you don't hear anything. You hear what you're supposed to. No, the sound is crazy. How great it is. And the control of what you can do with that sound is great too. Better sound quality, better design, no stems, no wires. That's what Raycon's all about. Seamless Bluetooth pairing. I never have to worry when I take them out. Are they going to pair? Do I have to pair it? Because I've had ones before. It's like I always feel like I'm repairing these things. Never, ever have to do that. And the price point, otherworldly. Start well under $100. You're not paying $200, $300, $400 for earbuds that don't stay in, and the quality is not as good. Raycons are the best. If you're looking for earbuds that truly are amazing with a noise isolating fit, and that fit is incredible, this is what it's all about. Raycons, 45-day money-back guarantee. Try them for yourself. Put them to the test. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Every guy who could probably had a mullet. Every guy who could. I was never good with long hair. I mean, I just wasn't. It wasn't a good look with me with long hair. My hair was thick, and it just got, crazy. Now, the beauty of being, bald is I don't have to worry about it. It's like there's no looking back on, oh, God, I can't believe that. I can't believe I did that. Because I had some crazy hair, punk rock hair, and, I did a lot, I had some dreads. Oh, Chad, you're culturally appropriated. Yeah, settle down. But the mullet is coming back. Partly because of quarantine. People didn't get haircuts for a while. And partly because it just seems to be the thing. And Australia is really taking it serious.
Many consider them a crime against fashion. Now the mullet is in the crosshairs of a Sydney private boys' school.
Banning the hairdo. It's the mullet having a moment.
A lot of people are getting it, all ages. It doesn't matter if you're young, old. Everyone's seeing it as such like a normal kind of trend now.
You can cut your hair 10 times better than a mullet,
It gives a person an identity and a character and an aura.
Yeah, in fact, Cam Smith is one of my favorite golfers. He's from Australia. His girlfriend hates his haircut. He's got a little mustache, too, like a little bit of one of those, 1980s mustaches. Reminds me of, you guys picture this guy with a mullet, little bit of a mustache, drives a lowered truck, and he's got his girlfriend's name on one side and his name on the other. You know who you are.
As you can see, I've probably got one that's kind of like a mullet as well, so it's very on trend.
An 80s staple, it was once the domain of rockers.
It's not bad. I think it needs a little bit of a trim at the front. I'd really like to go full business at the front and party out the back.
There are now multiple schools on Mullet Watch aiming, they say, to protect the leaders of the future. But just don't tell the leaders of today.
and I had a mullet, Mr. Speaker. That were the days.
I just encourage people with mullets to rise up and rebel.
I love Australia. Yeah, do that. The mullet. It is, you say something, right? Like, you say something. I don't know what you're saying. Like, what are you saying? I don't care. Producer Phil, you had a mullet, right, at some point in time?
Of course I did.
Yeah. You had mullets are great. And see, playing soccer and the beauty of playing in, you have guys, especially now, with all kinds of crazy hairstyles. So you do. And, man, I was at Disneyland one time, and there was a kid. I don't know, he's probably like 8 or 9. He had the greatest mullet I had ever seen. It was long, it was all like down his back, and he had the flat top. It was gorgeous. It was a piece of art. And if you keep it long enough, it will come back in style, right? It's like orbit. It's going to come back eventually. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet and text the program. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
To open up or not open up? What should thine do? Some states, in particular one very large one, said we're doing it. We're doing it. We're not going to do what we've been doing. We're doing this.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. That includes any type of entity in Texas. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
Oh, my goodness. It's chilling. People are upset. Of course they are. People can be angry. People are looking around saying, no, you can't do this. You cannot do this. Some people are cheering him on. John Cornyn. He's a Republican from the great state of Texas.
So I don't think Washington has a lot to say to states like my state about what the appropriate reopening measures are. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to wear a mask, you can still wear a mask. But at some point, the government needs to quit making arbitrary rules that do not have any demonstrable connection with the public health.
And there has been some of that. Let's not pretend that there hasn't been arbitrary rules. Let's not pretend that some of the stuff, no matter what they say, wasn't based in science. It was based in optics, because politics is about optics more than it's about anything else.
I don't know why they're doing it, but it certainly, from a public health standpoint, is ill-advised. The last 7 days, it's plateaued. We've been to this scene before, months and months ago, when we tried to open up the country and open up the economy. When certain states did not abide by the guidelines, we had rebounds, which were very troublesome. What we don't need right now is another surge. So just pulling back on all of the public health guidelines that we know work, it just is inexplicable why you would want to pull back now.
Because for a lot of people, it's inexplicable that we've gone on this long. That we were told we were going to flatten the curve. We were going to social distance for a little while and try to slow the spread. Here they are, 347 days. Some people 330 days. Some people over a year, where their businesses have been shut down or off and on or working at quarter of capacity. They're in a position where they've lost just about everything. And that thing that I talked about last year, towards the end of the year, which is that delay. You know how we see spikes, right? Like people gather and then the spike comes 2 weeks later. Well, that's kind of what's going on in the financial side of things. People started to struggle in the middle of last year because they thought, well, we're going to be fine. And they got their stimulus and they spent it because they thought this isn't going to last very long. Then lo and behold, they got in some serious trouble and they've done everything now and they've exhausted all of their resources. And now they're in a position where bankruptcies are starting to build up. The momentum is coming for that. The financial reckoning we have not seen. We have not. We haven't seen that, and we're going to. And we're going to see it faster than people realize. Were people frustrated by the science? Yeah, because they felt like, well, this guy's saying something, and this lady over here is saying something, and then this guy's saying something, and the CDC said something yesterday, but now they're like, well, it's done. We don't have to worry about that. Remember when we said 14 days? We could be 6. Like, what? No, back to 8. Never mind, we're taking off the website. Do what you want to do.
There's a lot of pseudoscience out there. There are a lot of people who maybe like me, a recovering lawyer who's had to try to learn science. But there's also a lot of scaremongering that's going on.
John Cornyn again. And that's very true. A lot of scaremongering that goes on. To say that that doesn't happen is a lie. Every time we turn around, there's a new variant that's coming. We touched on it earlier in the week, but we've been touching on it for months. But Bill Maher came out last week and he finally said, it's never any good news. It's always the next thing that's coming to kill us from Satan. It's always that. Is it ever good news? Everything good that happens always ends with but. Right? Everything that's good that happens. Everybody's been vaccinated, but let's stay exactly where we are because we're worried something could happen again. You can't live your life that way. And look, we know. Look, as individuals, let me tell you something. You don't need a degree in science, math. Logically, you could say if none of us go anywhere and we stay indoors all day, and when we do go outside for a brief time, we wear a mask and we don't come in contact with each other, the chances of us catching anything is nil, almost nil. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but you've taken away a good majority of things. Now, you can't live, and eventually you're going to starve to death. You're going to get lonely. You'll start to have mental issues. You'll be broke. They'll come take your home. Like those things will happen eventually. But yes, social distancing, wearing a mask, staying far away from each other as possible, 6 feet. Remember when it was 6 feet, then it was 12 feet? And it was like, it's 6 feet, but realistically it should be 12 feet. But we already told you 6 feet, and we don't want to go back by that because what are you going to do, shout at people from across the room? So, no. Yeah. Science can be manipulated when politics gets involved. Anything could be manipulated. Know that. Anything. 100%. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. How it doesn't matter what it is. If politics gets the chance to use something to make a point or to further their cause, they'll jump right in.
First of all, they're not arbitrary. They're based on evidence and data from science. We know that these interventions work. It's very clear. When you implement them, you see the cases go down. When you pull back, the cases go up. What you want to do is get down to a low enough baseline so that when you do pull back on the public health measures, that you won't have a surge, because when you have a level of virus that's low enough, as you get these little blips, you can contain them.
Yeah. That's great. But let's talk about, I know they're not arbitrary. Okay. Let's go back to, I don't know. Let's just look at California. We're going to shut down all outdoor dining. Based on what? Where's your science on that? Oh, you don't have any? Okay. Kids, you're not going to trick or treat because of that. People are like, all right, you could trick or treat. Well, why'd you tell them they could at first? Based on what? There's been tons of arbitrary rules that people put out there when it comes to this. At first, I get it. We're a little uncomfortable. We don't know really what's going on. This thing's novel. We want to make sure that people are safe. But then it's like, you can't go to the beach. What? Yeah, you can't go to the beach. Oh, yeah, you need to wear a mask if you're outside at a park. What? So don't tell me the arbitrary BS that is there or isn't there. You know there has been arbitrary rules. You get it. I get it. Not all of them have been, but a lot have. Curfews. What do you mean, what do you mean curfews? Yeah, curfews. None of those. I mean, even Dr. Fauci. Here's an arbitrary rule or a suggestion that just seems to be weird. Last week when he's on CNN, and I just, to me, it boggles the mind. Hey, my mother and father, says, the Brooke Baldwin or whoever it was, they got their shot. They got both of their shots. Can the grandkids come over and see him? I wouldn't suggest it. Well, why not? I wouldn't suggest that at this moment in time for them to see each other because we don't know. Well, what don't you know? Because if they've got the shot and you feel safe enough to give these people the shot, and they've got the vaccine and the supposedly the immunity to a certain level, and you're telling them to carry on, feels kind of arbitrary. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. With all of that going on, what else do we have? Well, one of the reasons Texas is doing what it's doing, and some states have been far more open than other states, and you're going to find out that those states are faring pretty decently when it comes to the economy, but we still have an economy that is struggling.
Another 745,000 laid-off Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits last week. That's about what economists were expecting and about where the jobless claim level has been for the last several weeks as the labor force sputters along in the pandemic. On Friday, the Labor Department will release the February jobs report. Economists don't have very high expectations for that either. Fewer than 200,000 jobs are expected to have been created.
That is not good. Because now people are learning to do more with less. They're tightening their belts. They're in an unstable position of looking around going, I don't know what's going on with government. They're fighting over all kinds of stuff. I can't tell you what's happening with my schools. I can't tell you what's happening over here with the local government. Yeah, there's a struggle there. We all participate in the economy. And people want stability. Right? They don't care if things are hard, but they want stability. Like, most people are like, oh, this is going to be a tough situation we're going to go through, but, you're going to have to make some cuts. You're going to have to do some stuff. That's fine based on a normal way of life. Based on the fact that you don't know if you're going to be open tomorrow, or you're going to be told you have to cut capacity, or you can kind of open, but you really can't tell anybody, or, yeah, we're just going to go for it and hope that nobody comes in and then, tells us we have to shut down. These things frustrate people. What's the government going to do or not going to do? Or the individuals themselves who would frequent my place who are struggling with money because they're not employed right now or half employed, or they're had to quit their job or reduce their hours so they could help their children at school. All of these things trickle down. All of them do. So, yes, getting back out there is very important. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. No mention yet of the inauguration time for today's March 4th. And Trump was 19th president of the United States. It's going to be very interesting. He looks great. I mean, how old would he be if he was the 19th president? It's well into his hundreds plus. My goodness. Look at him. Hey, CarShield is amazing. 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose said shop. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. If you want to protect yourself with cover repairs, the fear factor of that check engine light. What could it be and what it might not be? Well, you know, so many people freak out and then they just don't take it in because they feel like I don't have the money. That's where CarShield comes in. They got plans start as low as $99 a month. It is simple. It is easy. Whether you're looking to cover the electronics in your car because maybe it's a little bit more modern, all the way to your engine, your transmission, CarShield has a plan that's right for you. 1 million drivers have been helped by CarShield. It's America's #1 auto protection company. You can drive with confidence knowing your car's covered, your bank account's covered, you're covered. Call them today, 800-665-2157. 800-665-2157. Use code Benson to save 10% or carshield.com. Carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here. Just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a see and a peek and see what's trending. Obviously, Governor Greg Abbott is trending because depending on who you are, he's a hero or a villain for the no mask mandate. You know, you can wear a mask if you're upset. You can wear two. There is no rule. Like say it's in the Constitution, you can't wear a mask. It says, no, you can if you want to. Just let you guys know. You can do that. It's amazing. Voter ID is trending because, you know, it's racist. So, H.R. 1 is heading to the Senate. We're going to talk more in depth tomorrow about it. But I will tell you this right now. It's a horrible bill. I mean, are there a few things in there? You go, yeah, some of those things are workable. I could see some of those things. But so much of it is just insane and an overreach and insane. And the thought process of no voter ID is nuts. Well, it disproportionately hurts people of color. Really? Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me how voter ID hurts people of color. Do you think so little of people of color that they can't obtain an ID? Is that what it is? I'm just curious what it is that you worry. Is it like, you know, like, well, maybe, I mean, you heard what Biden said, right? Like, well, you know, they don't know how to use the internet. So stupid. The dumbest thing in the world. My goodness me. March 4th trending because, you know, the inauguration is supposed to happen today. I don't think it is. Really, I'm just letting you guys know that I don't think Trump is going to be taking over the presidency again. Head on over. Tim Allen is trending on Google. We're going to touch on that in a little bit, too. It's very interesting, some of the stuff. He was on with Mark Maron, and it was just an interesting thing. The stuff he talked about and just kind of who he is. And I think a lot of people, if you've not heard it and you have a chance to listen to him, it's just very interesting. You find out a lot more about him, and it's kind of eye-opening. And by the way, he has a conversation. Mark Maron and him, they grew up doing comedy together like a lot of these guys did, but they don't really see eye to eye in a lot of political things. But as I tried to explain yesterday, kids, this is what a conversation sounds like. I don't agree with you, but we can have a conversation. I do agree with you in some things. It's just crazy. It is. That we can't have conversations. So that's what's trending on Twitter and Google. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The FBI and Capitol Police warning of new threats against the government. Investigators uncovering a possible plot by militias to again target the Capitol today. ABC News obtaining an internal bulletin from Capitol Police stating an unidentified group of militia violent extremists had discussed plans to take control of the U.S. Capitol and remove Democratic lawmakers.
Yeah, I'm sure they would like to do that. Is it going to happen? It is not. They're prepared for it. They're already changing the story of March 4th and the inauguration of Trump. If anything crazy happens, I mean, look, is anything possible as far as crazy stuff happening today? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? I do not. I think most people think that so much of this is starting to go further underground, but the people, having seen so many of them on January 6th get absolutely, just go in there, do the thing, and then get absolutely left out in the cold. Even the Q shaman, right? Jake Chansley, the guy that dresses like a minotaur, but he needs special food in prison. You know what I'm talking about, that guy? He says he's wounded, that Trump hasn't helped him. He's wounded. Why? Because they were all expecting Trump to do something. Right? Trump's going to help us. This is what it's all about. Well, every time something like that happens, here's the thing with QAnon and a lot of these conspiracies. Once you start putting out specific dates and things, and then they don't happen, more and more fall away. Some people dig in deeper, but more and more fall away. More and more slowly but surely go, well, wait a minute here. You said this and you said that, and you said you have no credibility now. And right now, after today, some will come up with, well, they knew we're going to have to go somewhere else. We're going to have to do something. They knew we were coming. It's more and more fall away when stuff doesn't happen. More and more do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. As we all know, Tejas.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. That includes any type of entity in Texas. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
Here in Arizona, we don't have a mask mandate. About 90% of people, 95% of people wear masks. Everywhere I go, majority of people, if not 100%, are wearing masks. It's people freak out and, oh, what's going to happen? People are still going to wear masks. People are going to stay away from gatherings, and they're going to wait to find out what their comfort zone is. For other people, your comfort zone may be something completely different. Maybe you've had it. Maybe you've got the vaccine. Your comfort zone's pretty wide open. You want to take off the mask, and the store's okay with that, and you've had your vaccine, and maybe you've even had it. I think it's safe to say you're going to be all right. Some people will want to wear the mask for a lot longer, even if we get this thing down to a level where they think, okay, we're good, but there's still going to be some lingering effects. And for kids in schools, which is super important, you know that the teenagers, like for let's say like 7th grade through high school, self-harm is up 300%. Soak that up for a second. Self-harm is up 300%. That's scary. And normally they would be in a situation where they're at schools and they're talking with their friends and or talking with their teachers, people that they feel comfortable talking to something about that isn't their parents. And they don't have that outlet. So much of it is the mental aspect of it.
It's not just about getting schools the way they looked before March 12th of last year. It's really about reimagining and giving purpose to those sense of communities, making sure that our schools are prepared to meet the social emotional needs of our students too.
Yeah. And there's there's going to be a lot of that, the emotional side of stuff. Said yesterday, we're opening up here in Arizona schools as of March, I think, 15th. Schools will be open, and they'll have to be open, or after break, because Easter. Like when I was a kid, I don't know about you, producer Phil. When I was a kid, so like I either had spring break the week before Easter or the week after.
Yeah, I went to a Catholic school, so ours always was weird.
Yeah, but it was like, now it's like, it seems very arbitrary. It's like, yeah, you guys are next week and you guys are over here. So, but they're opening up. And because the majority of the teachers have been vaccinated, they were pushed to the front of the line. And it's time now that we start getting kids back in class. Because you've got to think about this. When you go back to school, so let's say this was a regular year, right? So you got a regular year going on. That first 3 weeks to a month, when you come back, is kind of like warm up. Like, all right, I got to refire the brain. The brain is a muscle. I've been on cruise control for the whole summer. I haven't thought about school. I haven't cracked a book. I've been hanging out with my friends. We've been chasing girls. I've been surfing, playing soccer, traveling, whatever. So all of those things, you got to fire it all up again. Now imagine that in a way where it's going to be completely different, because you have been kind of going to school, but at times not really. You've probably taught yourself some bad habits because you didn't know and you couldn't really figure out how to maneuver. And mom and dad have stepped in and tried to help as well. And that's just become a giant, because they don't know what they're doing in either. And they're like, why do we need new math? Old math wasn't broken. This is going to take a while. It is. But getting kids in school is of the utmost important for a lot of reasons. Number one, for their mental well-being and the education side of it, right? Like them. Number two, because it will allow parents to start getting back to a normal way of doing things with routine, and also getting back into the place where they're employed. Because how many women, 3 million plus women, potentially have lost jobs, and a lot of that was due to having to stay home and make the decision of, okay, one of us has got to be here to teach the kids, or not having a place for a child to go. So there is a lot of pressure to get teachers back in school, and they should be back in school as well as kids.
Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says he supports President Biden's call for states to prioritize teachers and school staff for vaccinations. In an exclusive interview on ABC's Good Morning America, Cardona says this will be a critical step in the right direction to reopen schools safely.
And it should be prioritized. First thing when the vaccines were out, we were having a discussion on my other show, and I said the first thing I would do if we're going to prioritize anybody, obviously we're going to do the first responders, the doctors and stuff like that. But the number one thing is get teachers vaccinated and back in the classroom, because that can free up parents and caretakers, that frees up so much. Some states are, some states aren't. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. I do love hearing from every single one of you. Things are expensive. It's very interesting. We've had, I forget the guy who writes the book, but he comes on usually once a year. He's got a new book. Talks about things in life. Things that we want, way cheaper than they've ever been. Things that we need, getting more expensive. You throw all the things that have taken place in the last year into like the giant blender of crap, and the things that we want, still pretty cheap, but the things that we need, those things are exploding. And this goes back to the economy and how things are done when it comes to cutting hours, cutting jobs, because every one of those things has a piece in a puzzle of putting things together that make things affordable. And when you start to miss some of those links in that chain, you see what ends up happening. And then you throw in weather and everything else, and you're starting to look around and going, my God, fuel prices out here in Arizona are through the roof. I paid $1.99 like 2-3 months ago. I paid $3 something the other day, $3.39. It's crazy.
Cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, the whole way down.
Absolutely.
All of it gone?
Yes.
Nearly their entire winter crop, 80% of it gone. The storm encasing everything in ice, ruining produce bound for farmers markets and restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, this field was gorgeous, and our cabbage was like rock star cabbage. Yeah. We didn't prepare financially for this sort of loss.
I mean, could you have?
No.
And with Texas one of the top agricultural states in the country, the impact could mean your grocery bill is going up.
Yeah. So you throw that in there. What's that mean? Well, less spending power on all kinds of things. The increased demand for a ton of stuff because of what we're going through.
Shoppers across the U.S. have already been paying more for food, with increased demand during the pandemic being a key factor.
The West Coast and the East Coast are really being hit the hardest with the deepest price increases, but everyone has felt the impact on their wallet.
In 2020, U.S. food prices increased by nearly 4% over 2019. And with more consumers eating at home due to the pandemic, home grocery prices had their largest spike in 9 years.
And there's something else you could talk about, too. You know, again, it's inflation, which is something that is a word that, oh, God, don't say that, but it can happen.
The government is now estimating a 6 to 9% increase this year in soybean prices, commonly found in many plant-based meat substitutes, and a 5 to 8% increase in wheat prices. Fast food customers also paying more. Prices are up more than 6% in the last year compared to about 3% at traditional restaurants. And as food prices rise, so does the need for help. Food banks are now seeing an unprecedented number of families coming through their doors.
It all starts to add up. And that's what's happening. It makes you, who wants to go out and participate and spend money in the economy, have less. You're putting an extra $30 in or $20 or $40 in a week. If you're traveling with gas prices, depending how big your tank is, less spending power elsewhere. You're spending more for groceries, less spending power elsewhere. The domino effect comes in. And in an already tight marketplace as far as spending goes, and employees and employers, this is that thing that we talked about, that 3 or 4 month lag that we got through last year in the economy, that now we're starting to see catch up. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. And then, of course, we've got nature. And as we all know, nature will mess you up. Nature did that in Texas. Hurt the fuel prices. It also hurt prices of, like she said, her Rockstar cabbage, which is, cabbage can't be rock stars. I'm just letting, just that can't happen. Right? It's cabbage. It's just cabbage. It's all it is. It's all it is. Rough Greens is great. Here's something that Rough Greens is going to do for you. They're not going to make you spend a lot of money. In fact, K9 VitaSmart from Rough Greens, what I give my dogs, I sprinkle it on there. It is not dog food. It is not. It is a supplement that has vitamins, minerals, and probiotics, and all of these amazing things that brings your dog's food to life. They're not going to charge you for it. You pay for shipping. They're going to send you a bag for free. They want you to try it. What it's done for my older dog, Doodle, is transformed his life and has given him a happy life, which is all I wanted for him. Try it for yourself. Put it to the test. Not going to cost you a penny as far as paying for the bag. They're going to ship it to you. You pay for that shipping. The bag is free. Roughgreens.com/Chad. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Try it now. Put it to the test before you even think about buying it. Roughgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog77, 833-MyDog77. Rough Greens, who make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
Kings of Leon jumping into the crypto collectibles game, putting out their upcoming album as a non-fungible token, or NFT, a way of making unique digital collectibles. NFTs in the sports world are traded like baseball cards, with some going for thousands of dollars, and art NFTs are sold like rare works of art and can go for millions. The Kings of Leon album NFT will cost $50, include a vinyl copy, and special visuals. And fans can bid on one of 6 golden ticket experiences that will give them front row seats at Kings of Leon concerts for life. The album, When You See Yourself, is out Friday.
So what's an NFT? Non-fungible token. Okay? So, meaning you could exchange it for another, right? It's like, it runs on a blockchain network. It's a digital ledger that records like these transactions. Cryptocurrency, kind of like a Bitcoin thing. But so much of what this is becoming is, and they get it, they're well ahead of their time as far as this goes. So much of what is happening now is it's about giving you a customizable experience. It's a customizable kind of neat thing. It's an experience for you. And that's where we are in this day and age. People want something that's theirs. They want a proof of authenticity is one of the things they can do. Ownership. But it's also some customizable. You've got something. It's very interesting what they're doing. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? It's just, and I like the Kings of Leon. It's one of those bands, man. They were hot for several months. And there was a period there from like that, God, I think it was like 10, 11 years ago, whatever it was, where there was like a 6-month period where like they were it. And then it was like, was it. They disappeared. Well, now they're back. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Do love hearing from every single one of you. Are you a psycho?
Do you know that there's a question out there that could reveal if you have psychopathic tendencies? First, a disclaimer, I am not a medical professional and this is not a diagnosis. I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself walking through the dark and eerie forest. Your eyes and imagine. Now your heart is pounding and you hear sounds all around you. Suddenly, you hear and feel breathing behind you and you whirl around in terror. Now, what do you see? A wild animal. B, a pale person of the opposite sex. C, a shadowy figure. D, a dog. E, nothing. F, a giant bug.
All right, you guys all do that? Especially those of you who are driving. I'm kidding!
For some reason, people who do possess psychopathic tendencies often say dog. So psychologists don't know the real reason why so many psychopaths say dog, but here's one. The dog answer could be indicative of like a masking behavior, right? Like dogs are fluffy and non-threatening. And maybe this is the psychopath trying to prompt in the mind of the interviewer this like manipulative, self-serving answer. That they see the interview as a passive object to be manipulated.
Some of you are going to try that. What did you see? I didn't see anything. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. She's not a doctor, though. She just plays one on TikTok. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Try it at home. It's the home version of Are You a Psycho or Not? And let me know how that goes. And if you've seen a dog, then there's a good chance, based on her non-doctor diagnosis, that you are a psychopath. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. That includes any type of entity in Texas. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
Governor Greg Abbott right there. Not to be confused with Gregory Abbott.
Ooh, girl, that I'm not shy. I'm glad you picked up on my telepathy now, baby. You know you did. I wanna shake you down.
love Gregory Abbott. So, the question is, which one is your favorite Abbott? Well, if you're in Texas right now, you are loving Governor Greg Abbott. If you are in Texas. Biden has a different name for Texans, apparently.
I think it's a big mistake. The last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
The thought of it not mattering, I don't think crosses people's minds. Of course it matters. That's the dumbest thing in the world. The Neanderthal thinking is that we're going to hide long enough or get to a point where we vaccinate everyone, and that's just not going to happen. Life needs to go on. Life needs to move forward. We're a year into this thing. We are not moving forward. In some states, they're paused. The economy in some states is wrecked and will be for years. In other states, it is running on fumes. And some states have managed to kind of keep their head above water. But as far as Neanderthal thinking, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to take the first step. Is it maybe early in the game to do so? Yeah. But you can still wear a mask. You can still do all of those things. Nobody's telling you don't have to do those things. Businesses have already come out and said, we're still going to require you to wear a mask if you're going to come in here. We're still going to ask you social distance. We're still going to keep the parameters to keep you safe, as far as we're concerned, in place. But endemic, not pandemic. What's that supposed to mean? All right, let's talk about endemic. We've talked about this. The more that we studied it, it's really weird. It's here. It's not going anywhere, right? It's not going to be controlled the way that people think. It's not going to be shut down. It essentially is now part of what we do. The flu, endemic, not pandemic. It's here. Live with it, through it, around it, and above it. Those are the things that we need to learn how to do.
I don't know why they're doing it, but it certainly, from a public health standpoint, is ill-advised. The last 7 days, it's plateaued. We've been to this scene before, months and months ago, when we try to open up the country and open up the economy. When certain states did not abide by the guidelines, we had rebounds, which were very troublesome. What we don't need right now is another surge. So just pulling back on all of the public health guidelines that we know work, it just is inexplicable why you would want to pull back now.
You're always pulling back. You're always pulling. Responsibility. Each person, you're responsible for you and yours. Okay? You know that, and I know that. We've taken personal responsibility, and too many people have ceded that to government and are willing to allow government to direct a lot. Texas is doing what other states, I think, are going to have a hard time doing, which is giving up and giving back some of the powers that they have. Somebody has to do it. I go back to Monday. Boris Johnson, crazy haircut, pretty decent guy. He's like a Trump light, the UK version of Trump, talking about their plan to move forward. Now, their plan's a little bit different. They've got a 2 or 3 step plan. I think they're in the first step now, and then they've got a second step, and the third step will be in June, going forward and living their life and all restrictions off. But Boris brings up and says something that is spot on.
There is therefore no credible route to a zero-COVID Britain or indeed a zero-COVID world. Cannot persist indefinitely with restrictions that debilitate our economy, our physical and mental well-being and the life chances of our children. And that is why it is so crucial that this roadmap should be cautious but also irreversible.
Like, it's pretty much as spot on as you're going to get. Which is, if you're looking for perfection, you're not going to get it. If you're looking for something where we're going to get to a level where out of the 370 million people or 330 million people or 311 million people, depending on who you're counting and what you're counting, what you really think the count is. But let's just say 330 for the sake of argument. Out of that, we're going to get down to less than 100 deaths a day based on this thing, and that we're going to get to the point where you're going to find that in the next several weeks or months. It's probably not going to happen. Can it get down to a manageable level? Yeah. I mean, let's think about how many people are going to die today from heart disease, cancer, car accidents. We need to live our life. This isn't this. This shouldn't be an either or. You can do and be responsible. Some people aren't. I get that, but I'm not talking about some people. I'm talking about you and me. Be responsible.
So I don't think Washington has a lot to say to states like my state about what the appropriate reopening measures are. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to wear a mask, you can still wear a mask. But at some point, the government needs to quit making arbitrary rules that do not have any demonstrable connection with the public health.
That right there is John Corwin talking about some of these rules. And some of these rules have been arbitrary no matter what anybody says, and they can scream and yell. It's about science, but no. At times, it's about the politics and using science to politically control.
First of all, they're not arbitrary. They're based on evidence and data from science. We know that these interventions work. It's very clear. When you implement them, you see the cases go down. When you pull back, the cases go up. What you want to do is get down to a low enough baseline so that when you do pull back on the public health measures, that you won't have a surge, because when you have a level of virus that's low enough, as you get these little blips, you can contain them.
There has been arbitrary rules. There's been tons of arbitrary rules. There's been rules that have been changed. There's been rules that have been, where people have decided, hey, we're going to do this. California can't dine outside. Why? Because what? Just because you can't do that. You have to shut your restaurant. Oh, yeah, they're going to dine outside because they're a movie studio and they're setting up the craft services. You got to shut down, though. And I know you spent thousands of dollars building something out here so people could come and frequent your place, but you need to shut down because science. Oh, okay. Right? Over and over again. The outdoor masking, British Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies. No, it's negligible benefit. Nothing really. Nothing that you should be doing. Right? Harvard epidemiologist Julia Marcus suggested to Boston.com that many of the things that people like Charlie Baker, the governor of Massachusetts, put into effect was no more than pandemic theater. Arbitrary public health rules are the way to do what? Break the public's trust. That's been broken. Fatigue has set in. Frustration has set in. And he made a decision. And his decision was, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So don't tell me there hasn't been arbitrary rules. Science can be manipulated. Science can be politicized, as we have seen. And like everything, you bring a scientist, I'll bring a scientist. And they can argue it out. Welcome to the world of politics. This isn't nothing to do with science. This is all to do with politics. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, and understand that while all this is going on, jobs.
745,000 people filed new claims for unemployment benefits last week. The labor market continues to lag behind other parts of the economy, which are gaining some steam. The hope is hiring rebounds in the spring and summer as more vaccine is administered. The Federal Reserve has said there are continued difficulties attracting and retaining qualified workers due in part to the virus and its effect on childcare.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. That's why teachers need to get the vaccine first. They need to be in school ASAP, 110%. We can all agree with that. That should have been the priority number one outside of emergency healthcare workers, first responders, teachers. Get the vaccine. Get them in the classroom to help with their well-being, mentally, physically, to help with their education, which is also very important. And also to get people feeling like they can get back out there. And when you have a recession like we have, they call it the she-cession because it has disproportionately affected women, either single mothers or husband and wife, maybe a wife and a wife, whatever. I mean, yeah, you guys get where I'm going. Cohabitating couple of some sort, non-gender specific, but one of them is going to stay home with the children, and more often than not, it's going to be the female or non-gender specific, assigned at birth female. Does everybody feel better? All right. We offend anybody? Probably not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. So, yes, schools, very important. Absolutely. But the longer this languishes and the longer this continues to go on, the more the economy gets hurt, the more that people are going to end up losing their jobs, then the more businesses shut down. So even spring and summer, you're not going to need to hire as many. And that battle uphill will be even bigger. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, AMAC Association Mature American Citizens. Fastest over 50 organization in the country as far as age and growth. And they're incredible. And now is your time to join. It's like $16 a year. It costs virtually nothing. They're out there fighting your behalf. Yesterday, they've been out there fighting your behalf for things like H.R. 1. That's voting for the people baloney act, and we're going to get deeper into it tomorrow. That passed the House yesterday and will go to the Senate. But it's crazy. For common sense immigration reform, but they also have benefits like retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and so many other things. And you can join right now. Great organization, about 2.5 million members and growing fast, helping you with everything from Social Security to Medicare, making sure you're filling out the stuff correctly, to even if you're under the age to receive those, but you still need health care, they'll help you with that as well. Find out how you can join today. Go to amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
And the winner for Best Dramatic Piece, his second Emmy in a row, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I fully support a woman's right to come forward, and I think it should be encouraged in every way. I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. It was unintentional, and I truly and deeply apologize for it.
He is awesome. I don't know if he did anything wrong. People would be mad because I wasn't there. The lady said that he tried to kiss and grabbed her cheeks kind of things and tried to do that. I don't know. I mean, there's a photo, but I mean, it's not, I don't know what that moment was like. I wasn't there. It's in a room full of a bunch of people. Right. That's something. Are there other people coming out? You've got 3 women now that have come out and said something. One, it's the photo thing. And the other 2, one said he tried to kiss her, and then the other one said that there was kind of this weird relationship, and he was fascinated by her private life and things of that nature. And he is, he's upset about it.
I feel awful about it, and frankly, I am embarrassed by it, and that's not easy to say, but that's the truth. But this is what I want you to know. and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
Okay, so he never touched anybody inappropriately. Did you say some stuff? Did you make somebody uncomfortable? Did something that for all the stuff about Mike Pence, never being in a room alone with a woman, maybe, he's got it right.
I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable. And I certainly never, ever meant to offend anyone or hurt anyone.
Never. He never meant to do it. Have we ever heard anything like that before?
But this is what I want you to know, and I want you to know this from me directly. I never touched anyone inappropriately.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I never touched anyone inappropriately.
I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never.
I never touched anyone inappropriately.
I'm going to say something crazy here. There's a theme to this. Let the investigation happen and then search and look at all of the evidence that's out there and then go from there. It's crazy, I know. It's crazy. Normally in this case, we just execute somebody, but let's just see what takes place. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I think it's a big mistake. The last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
That right there, kids, is the President of the United States, at least for a little while, Joe Biden, because, it's March 4th and, he's going to be removed or something. He's a robot. I don't know. Whatever the latest thing is. But calls the people that are deciding that, hey, you don't have to wear masks, in particular what's going on in Texas, the Neanderthal thinking. He's taking a step. He is the guy that runs his state. He is saying, I am taking this step. This is the step that we're taking. We're going to open things up. We're going to allow people to make their own decisions and to live their own lives. And I'm a huge believer in that because I understand that this thing is endemic. Could this thing vanish one day? It's possible. But at least for now, we're going to have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing, and most importantly, above this thing. And of course he was going to be met by people on the left who were angry at him because how dare you allow people to live their own lives and make decisions for themselves? Yeah, that's what you should be doing. And anybody who was going to take the first step was going to do so knowing that there was going to be plenty of blowback, but somebody had to do it.
If Texas were a person, it's the person who leaves the lost group of hikers to go and seek help. It's the person who assumes the risk first on behalf of others. The state actually stepped up. You need Texas in a world of leaders who have no problem shutting down things indefinitely. And the media is that person in every disaster movie that needs to be slapped by the hero. Stop panicking! Like Gene Hackman in the Poseidon Adventure is Texas, and the media or the people going, I don't know what to do, and you have to go, Batman.
Yeah, I think that was Shelley Winters. Because the media, the narratives are what they put out there, what they want you to. Have you ever noticed you've never seen them interview anybody who's like, yeah, I had it, it went away. They never do that. You never see that. It's always tragedy. Because if it bleeds, it leads. And this is the ultimate if it bleeds story. You take it serious. And people will jump on me for saying this. I took it serious, still do. Wear a mask everywhere I go. I respect the people around me. I take personal responsibility. Haven't eaten out in 13 months. That means I haven't been to a restaurant. Oh, I've stopped and got fast food. But otherwise, I eat at home, or I support the little cafe next door every single day because she was hurting. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend as much money as I can down there. Don't go out. Play golf, predominantly by myself. So go to the hitting range. I might be there for 3 hours in the sunshine by myself. Hang out with my lizards and my family. That's it. Respect the people around me. I still managed to get it. Taking all of the precautions and doing far less than I could have done. And it didn't matter. I took it serious, still do. But I also like personal responsibility. And that's what this is all about. Businesses have already said, a lot of them, yeah, you know what? We're going to require you to wear a mask. We're still going to have some stuff and some measures in place that will keep the patrons, whether it's a restaurant or Target or Walmart, to a certain level, therefore giving people the opportunity to social distance. Zero problems with that. Somebody has to be the first one to take a step. And then you got the likes of, Michael Moore and Keith Olbermann basically saying, well, good, let's not give them any more vaccines. And even people on the left are coming out going, guys, you scream and yell peace and love and all this stuff, and you guys are anything but that if you really feel that way. And by the way, Texas is probably going, to you, fine. Because it's Texas. People are hurting. Kids are hurting. Kids haven't been in school, for the most part, countrywide, for about a year. My son has not been in school since March of last year. And it has cost him dearly. The mental side of it is really, really affected him. As has lots of kids. From junior high to high school, the self-harm is up 300%. So kids are hurting themselves 300% compared to where they were a year ago. We need to get back out there. People talk about, well, this shouldn't be, it is political. Everything is political because once politics and politicians get involved, they make it political.
There's a lot of pseudoscience out there. There are a lot of people who maybe like me, a recovering lawyer who's had to try to learn science. But there's also a lot of scaremongering that's going on.
That is true. Don't tell me there's not scaremongering going on. When's the last time you heard somebody come on and say, hey, things are going really well, I think we're going to do something? If they do, what ends up happening? They get pushed out to the side as some sort of nut job or crazy person, and they get branded that way. Because the narrative over here needs to be something different. It needs to be something different over here. Because we're painting the picture. And this is what the picture is. So we have to make sure that it fits this narrative and the picture looks like this. You never see two opposing scientists come on and discuss certain things that you would like to hear. Hey, you know what? There are other people out there that say this thing is running its course and that the spread is such that you outside of living inside your house 24/7, that there's just not a lot you can do. And but we've also reached a certain level of people that have been infected that we don't talk about, those asymptomatic people who pass it off as a head cold or allergies and never get tested, but do have the antibodies. We never talk about that. We never have scientists come on and talk about that because it's about fear. Science shouldn't be political, but it is. See who writes the check. Because he or she who writes the check will usually write a check, and in doing so, expect something for said check. Politics is involved in everything. And it can be manipulated. Sports, see the Olympics, see the World Cup, see many different things that happen when politics gets the opportunity to play in that playground and how they can use it and manipulate it. Head on over to the world of entertainment. I think we already know what goes on there. Religion? Absolutely. Has been for centuries. You go back centuries and you look and you find out, hey, the Pope is the most powerful person in the world. The kings and queens came to the Pope to have discussions and ask for certain things. Yes, politics can get into anything, including science. Including science. They're making their bed. They'll have to live with it. But they still have choice and responsibility. Isn't that kind of what we all want? I thought so. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet, text, March 4th. This is a big day because, you know, the whole thing with, Trump and him being president yet again.
Well, so March 4th, Donald Trump is going to come back and he's going to be the president. Way back when, it was like 1871. Inauguration Day used to happen on March 4th. And then Donald Trump will be back and he'll be inaugurated as either the 19th president of the United States Republic or the first president of some new something.
They also think that there's going to be this great financial reset, both in our country and around the world, where debts are just going to be forgiven, where if you have a mortgage, you don't owe on it anymore.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So just let you guys know that. He's not coming back. But they are on high alert, as they should be, after what took place on January 6th. They're on super high alert, and they've increased the security.
The House has decided to change its floor schedule to get lawmakers out of Washington, D.C. before tomorrow, and still an increased level of security presence here on the Capitol grounds here tonight. You have miles long of razor-wired fencing and still roughly 5,000 National Guard troops on site.
Yeah. Senate will be still meeting because they've got a lot of stuff to go over. But this is kind of where we are. And there's a lot of people have been pointing to this. And already the people in the QAnon world are changing their story because they don't think things are going to happen the way that they thought. And Q hasn't apparently done his QAnon stuff for a while. But it's just, and this will become a big thing because this is the boogeyman now. This is the perfect boogeyman. It's the perfect, crazy boogeyman that's going on. Be scared of this. Be scared of this. No, what took place at the Capitol was awful. Those people were responsible for themselves. They took things. They found things. When you can find things and twist them, right? And then twist the message, you can do all kinds of stuff. Yes, Trump should have been harder that day, and he should have spoken out. This is my opinion, in a much stronger way. I can't blame him for the idiots that ran in there because, once again, I go with personal responsibility. But it is amazing. This is the new boogeyman. This is it. Like, everywhere you go, there's a queue. It's not everywhere you go. It's 330 million people. Do you think 150 million people are really Q people? Do you think that? My rough guesstimate, maybe 100, 200,000. I mean, all kinds of people believe in conspiracies. And let's not, you believe in UFOs. Doesn't mean you believe in aliens, but there's something we can't explain, right? Maybe you believe in interdimensional things, like that we've got several dimensions rather than one. The earth is flat. Whatever those things are, it doesn't make it Q. But this is the newest and latest thing. And there are crazy people involved. There's no doubt. And there are white supremacists involved. And there are people that are awful that are involved. And there are people that are living in a delusional world. All of those things are true. Are they lurking everywhere? Like if you walk outside and one jumps out of the tree and, like, oh, my God, or pops up out of the garbage can dressed like that. And, or he's got is it a ghillie suit or whatever? It's the bush. No. But it's a perfect thing because the media needs stuff. They do. They need stuff. And the fact that you're having people believe some of this. I go back to, I know who believes it. I know why they believe it. I know what they're looking for and searching for. It's kind of one of those things where if you're going to, like with serial killers, right? The profile's kind of always the same. There are some that are a little bit different, but it's the Q side of it that I find interesting. The writing of it, it's almost like you've got script writers who are writing things and just pulling stuff out. It's just like, okay, what's your motivation? Like, what are you getting out of it? Because it's not like you're an influencer where you're like, you're hawking something. Hey, March 4th, make sure when you storm the castle to have Bang energy drink. Use code Q to save 15%. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. He's apologized, and I'm still not sure why he apologized and what he apologized for. We discuss. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
At the Oakland Coliseum, thousands of people have been lining up every day to get the Pfizer vaccine. But according to two EMTs who contacted KTVU in the Bay Area, people who showed up on Monday before 2 o'clock in the afternoon received too little vaccine. The issue was allegedly fixed by the evening. One EMT estimating 4,300 people were given the wrong dosage. There's debate if getting too little vaccine still offers enough protection.
Yeah, then you had a guy who went and got 2 vaccines in the same day, and he got sick. It happens. I don't know what. Like, there are people out there can't get 1. That guy got 2. Like, what are you doing? What kind of game do you got to get 2? And then people start to learn how to play the system. I'll say this. I'm not going to say who it is, but I had somebody who is not of the age that you're supposed to get and helped his dad get a shot. Told them that he was a healthcare worker, and they never asked. And they just gave him a shot. Just like, okay. Because you think you're volunteering in a lot of these places. And you go volunteer, by the way, for most states, if you go volunteer, they'll give you the shot. That's kind of like your payment for the day. Hey, you're here for 12 hours? Here's your shot. Like, all right, cool. Sounds great. I'm okay with that. It's not a hard thing to do. I mean, what are you doing? And a lot of times you're just standing in the line. Yeah, you go over here. You go over here. Do you have your name? And it's just it's not. I asked my buddy who got, he's younger and he got both shots. And I said, what was it like? He says, like going to a car wash. You've been to a car wash that's really busy? And they got the person out there is just writing tickets and doing stuff. It's kind of what it was. It's very cool. Very cool. Just tell them you're a healthcare worker. What are they going to ask you for? Do you have any scrubs? Just wear scrubs. Oh, I left my stuff there. Sorry. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Chris Harrison, he was the host of The Bachelor. I think he might be again. He's hinting at that he may come back. But he was subsequently let go or something happened because he didn't condemn something the way that people wanted him to condemn it about an antebellum party with one of the contestants, and a picture resurfaced of an antebellum. Of course, you know the Old South, the antebellum, plantations, the whole 9 yards. And the girl was like 19 when this when she took it was a sorority thing. She went and he saw a picture. And of course, see, this is what happened. He saw a picture of it. He goes, I haven't talked to her about it. Her name is Rachel. I think we need to have a little grace because I have seen some stuff online, the judge, jury, executioner thing, where they're just tearing this girl's life apart and diving into her parents and her parents' voting record. It's unbelievable. He goes, I'm not defending her, but she hasn't even had a chance to speak. That's all he said, essentially. And, of course, because of that, because you're not part of the condemnation team, you have to apologize.
Antebellum parties are not okay. Past, present, future. Knowing what that represents is unacceptable.
But you didn't say it was a fine thing. You just said that let her speak for herself, right? Like you shouldn't. Why are you in the business of trying to defend a contestant or not? But it goes back to the cancel culture kind of thing. This person didn't even do anything. It was you weren't hard enough on somebody the way that we wanted you, so therefore you too are part of the problem.
I am saddened and shocked.
Shocked should be a good word. I'm shocked that people are insane. I shouldn't be.
At how insensitive I was in that interview with Rachel Lindsay. And I didn't speak from my heart. And that is to say I stand against all forms of racism. And I am deeply sorry.
I know who he is. I've never really watched The Bachelor, but I'm going to go out on a limb. Before this apology and before all this happened, I didn't think he supported racism. It's just sad. Enough with the apologies, people. If you've done something wrong, that's one thing. If somebody perceived that you did something wrong, stop bowing to him. Have a great day. Oh, my goodness. I see Friday. Night, Jack.
Benson Show.